Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, Say What's Real TV. This review is for Tyler Perry's Sistas, Season 7, Episode 5, Hanging in the Balance. So we open up the episode exactly where we left off last week with Zach asking Karen for a DNA test. So she says that it's already been verified that Aaron is not the father, so that will only leave Zach. And Zach tells her, look, I've never been tested, so we want to know finally what the truth is. For some reason, I felt like when he said that his DNA wasn't tested, Karen seemed a little shocked to me because I don't think she thought Zach was smart enough to ask for that and that he would just go with the flow of what she was saying, that since Aaron was not the father, then that made him automatically the father, which I think that's the road that Zach was going down until everybody else started chirping in his ear. So she seemed a little shocked, like, damn, who throwing a monkey wrench in my plans? That's the vibe I was getting. But anyway, so she was like, so what you trying to say? You calling me a liar? You trying to say I'm sleeping around? He said, don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say all that, but I did hear how you used to get down in college. So she automatically blames Fatima and says Fatima is the one putting all this stuff in his head and got him standing there in her face calling her a liar and a 304. And I'm like, Karen, Fatima didn't go to college with you, hun. Think about it for a minute. But it really doesn't matter. It is what it is. He wants a DNA test. So Zach is basically just telling her he just wants to be sure before he starts taking care of this child. So she starts deflecting and getting in her feelings, saying, no, no, no. He's like, no what? I don't even want you in our child's life anymore. Zach looking at her like, look, all I want is a DNA test. And she's like, oh, you can go. So then you would have thought that Karen paid David Copperfield to be up in that piece because it was like him pulling rabbits out of a hat. They just start popping up out of nowhere. First, we see Trey sitting down. And I'm like, where did Trey come from? Why is he here sitting down, mingling, drinking amongst her customers? So he walks over there, checks on Karen, looks at Zach and like, look, I don't want no problems, bro. But it's like, if you want the smoke, I'm here to bring it. That's what he was giving. Zach just looked at him, started laughing, looked at Karen and was like, really? This supposed to be your man? So we see Maurice arriving to the club that he usually hangs out at, and he's walking through like he's Morris Chestnut because everybody is hooping and hollering and feeling and touching and trying to get pictures of him. Now he's this big time celebrity because of his fixation page. So he makes it over there with Chris and they're chopping it up, and he basically tells him he's there because he thinks he's found a new suitor, and the guy has been messaging him a lot saying that he wanted to meet up with him. So they're waiting for Grayson in the gray shirt, and he finally shows up looking like a Greek god. And they're like, oh my God. So Maurice was like, oh, well, this is 50 Shades of Grayson here. And Chris in the back talking about, well, if you need some help, I got some paintbrushes. Maurice said, Picasso B, we know what kind of painting you like to do. I'm like, oh my God. No, Maurice did not just say that. He is wild for that one. So when Grayson gets over there, he was looking mighty good. And Chris in the back feeling all on the man chest. So he's trying to talk to Maurice, laying it on thick, but Maurice really giving him a hard way to go because he got his side eye on him, wondering why you want to holler at me. So Grayson tells him he just wants to get to know him. He thinks he has a great personality and he shines on his fixation page. I guess Maurice say he has to keep his guard up because he's trying to avoid another Q situation at all costs because this man looking too good. He asks Maurice if he want a drink, and Maurice tells him sex on the beach. So he orders 2 of those. So while they're waiting for the drinks, Maurice softens up a bit and he's like, well, tell me about yourself. What we learned about Grayson is that he's been in Atlanta for 8 months. He's a day trader and he was in a serious relationship about 8 months ago. And the reason it ended was because his partner passed away from cancer, and that he was the caretaker all the way up until the end. So Maurice was like, well, that's beautiful that you were able to love him that much to take care of him that way. He was like, well, have you ever loved someone like that? And Maurice says, well, that's a 5th date question. And he looks at him and he's like, well, I look forward to our 5th date. So we go back over there to the salon and Mama Lisa comes out asking what's going on. So Zach, he's still over there laughing and mocking Trey on how he stepped to him. And she said, Zach, I told you not to be here. So when Karen heard that, you could tell her eyes lit up a little bit. But Mama Lisa escorted Zach right on out the building, but he didn't give a damn. So Trey, he went to Karen making sure that she was straight, and she asked him to go get her some water. So when he walks off, Pam steps to Karen and tells her she's tripping because she needs to let Zach be in the child's life. And Karen basically dismissed Pam like, I'm not talking to you about this, as if Pam wasn't on her level for her to have that conversation with, but that's how I took it anyway. But Pam was like, look, I like Trey and all, but those deliveries will not help you pay this high behind rent. Basically, stick with Zach, the one that got all the money, because Trey don't have the money. And I feel like Trey just might have the money. We don't know that yet. He could be the son of the owner, or he could possibly be the owner of the company. You don't know. I guess Pam just trying to save her job. I don't know, or pump them products out one. But then Karen tells her, look, I don't want Trey. I don't even know that man. And I'm like, well, who called Trey to come back and join this little celebration then, if you don't want him? But Pam was like, well, you will, because I see the way the two of y'all look at each other. So Trey, he walks back up, and him and Pam, they go get something to eat. So when Mama Lisa comes back in, all Karen wanted to hear about was, when did she talk to Zach? She told her that she talked to him earlier in the parking lot and told him that it wasn't a good idea. So Karen says apparently he didn't listen, and she let her know neither one of y'all listen. None of y'all do. So Mama Lisa told her, girl, stop stressing. Do you want to go sit down? Now she don't want to sit down, and all of a sudden, we get another magical moment where someone just magically appears. And Danni comes from out of a dark shadow, clinking her glass, drunker than Cooter Brown. Now, for me, I found that this scene was quite awkward and random, and it just really didn't make any sense. Because did she run to the salon to try to stop Zach from telling anything? Did she lay in the cut trying to see if he was going to say her name or what? I didn't get it. It just didn't add up. We know she was there when Zach was there because she told Andy the story. So she had to have seen what went on. But why did you come out after Zach left? It just seemed weird. It really didn't make any sense. So she makes some kind of toast and basically congratulating Karen in a sense, but just bringing up all kind of crazy stuff. So Karen, to save herself from all kind of embarrassment, she went and grabbed the glass, tried to pry it out of Danny's hand, and Mama Lisa trying to help her, keep Danny at bay. So Karen went ahead and spoke to the rest of the guests, basically thanking them for coming out and supporting her, and hopefully they can enjoy the rest of the celebration, because apparently she wasn't having a good time. So we go over there to Zach and Fatima's, and Zach is telling his side of the story of what happened at the salon earlier. So he brings up Trey, saying that he was over there acting like he was Karen's man, describing how Trey rolled up on him, exaggerating a little bit. And the bottom line for Fatima was, Karen's not getting a dime until she proves that the baby belongs to Zach. So Zach says he's just going to focus on Michael for right now and worry about Karen later. So Fatima tells him how she was looking up schools and therapists for Michael because he's going to need some kind of therapy for all of his trauma. So with Fatima's loving and caring ways and being proactive into what Michael's needs are going to be, Zach realizes once again just how much he loves Fatima and how he couldn't do any of this without her. So he lets her know that he would marry her tomorrow if she would let him. So they have their little cute cuddly moment, and they go head upstairs to make it do what it do. So we're in a new day, and we head over there to the law firm, and Andy's on the phone with Jordan, and they're basically just setting up a dinner date for later that evening. So Fatima comes in, and after she sat there going on and on about Jordan and Andy was like, well, why are you here? Like, what's up? So Fatima started dragging her feet, talking about, I don't want to do this. So Andy cut her off and said, are you here to talk about Zach going to the salon causing a scene? So, of course, Fatima, taking up for Zach, is like, he didn't cause a scene. Is that what she said? So she told her that Danny was the one that told the story. So they kind of dismissed what Danny said, figuring that her story was incredible because of some reality shows and her being drunk and high. So Andy basically told her that was not the appropriate time for Zach to go there to ask for the DNA. And of course, Fatima already knows this, but she's saying that they just have to get it done. So Andy told her straight up, she is focused on the hearing for Michael, and she can't have Zach running around in some street fight with a stranger. So Fatima's trying to get Andy or somebody to talk to Karen, and Andy had to let her know once again she's not touching this with a 10-foot pole and that she has plenty other things to be focused on, one being the custody case where they know that Zach is the dad, the FBI investigation, and her making partner. So when she mentions making partner, Fatima tells her that she thinks Hayden is up to something because she saw him in one of the partners' office with a bunch of files. So later on, we see Andy actually in her office working, so she looks across the hall and sees Hayden chumming it up, skinning and grinning with one of the partners, all the while looking at her, letting her know, look, I got this. So we go over there to Gary's office, which I'm still baffled as how it has yet to get raided, but anyway. So he's listening to this broadcast of a woman talking about Jordan and how he coached up his young adult basketball team to a victory and how he can be the next city councilman. So Gary, while listening to this, becomes enraged. So he proceeds to break his laptop up on the desk. I'm like, fool, why would you do that? So Hudson, he runs in there asking Gary, was he good? And Gary was like, no, I'm not good because this SOB is trying to take what's mine. And I'm like, Gary, what is yours? Were you trying to go off a city councilman? I don't get it. Because you can't be talking about Andy because Andy is long gone. It's been over 3 months. So I guess Gary's plan is to have some salacious story leaked out about Jordan. So he's asking Hudson, what's taking so long? Why hasn't it leaked yet? And Hudson tells him the guy that he's using, his police connect is kind of shaky. So Hudson said he'll go and call the guy to see what's popping. And Gary was like, no, that's not good enough. We're going over there right now. And Hudson looking all scared, like, right now? And Gary was like, right now. So they head on out. Now, although I love to see it and I'm glad that Danny decided to call Creisha, but I would love to have seen what triggered her or what made her call Creisha in the first place, because the last time we saw her, Danny said therapy was not for her. So what changed? But in the salon, before Karen pried the glass out of her hand, she yelled out, I'm in therapy now. So I guess a lot of things are taking place off camera that we, the audience, are not privy to, but I guess. So she's in here now, and they start off by talking about Danny and choosing the wrong men. So she brings up Preston first, and, how basically they were kind of different and she did not expect to like him the way she did. She talked about meeting Jonah on one of her and Preston's off times and how he was this a-hole that she had to run over with his car because he put his hands on her. And the look on Creisha's face when she said she ran him over was priceless. Her eyes got so big. Danny let her know, unfortunately, he did survive. She just wished that she saw the darkness in him before it happened. So Creisha tells her that some people are real good at hiding the real them, which I hope this is not foreshadowing for Tony and what he could be hiding, because we know his kids pop up next week and we don't know if Danny knows about the kids or not. So I can't wait to see that. But Creisha, she asked her, has she had any other previous abusive relationships? And she talks about Rusty, someone she dated in college that was this star athlete. And she thought she was all of that in a bag of chips because he was with her. And all Rusty did was criticize everything about her, her looks, her weight, the way she dressed, her hair. And one day he pulled her in the locker room and started choking her out and abusing her. And she's emotional as she's telling the story and saying basically she forgot that that even happened. That's just how she buried that pain deep down so she doesn't have to feel it or think about it. But all the while it's still playing a part in how she's dealing with the men in her life now, today. So it was good that she was able to get that out. Creisha told her she did a good job. I thought that was a good session for her. I love that she's there and willing to open up and share those past hurts and pains that she has experienced. So it's just one step closer to healing. So I love that for her. Now we go over to Fuel, where Sabrina is going over there to see Rich, and he is ecstatic to see her. He is eager to share his good news. He's trying to expand his business, and he's showing her the blueprints that he just got the green light on. So he starts going over the new plans for the new location and trying to explain it all to Sabrina when this lady walks in holding a baby. So instantly Sabrina checks out. She's not paying Rich any attention at this point. So she tells him that she has a few plans of her own. So he's thinking she's talking about opening a business. So he tells her he supports her and he got her if that's what she's trying to do. And she tells him no, she's going to freeze her eggs. So now instantly Rich's happiness has been deflated because now here it is, Sabrina bringing up these kids again. But he tells her, look, she should absolutely do it because if the two of them don't work out, she should have that option to have kids. I'm not sure what Sabrina thought he was going to say, but she looked a little shocked at his response. And now he becomes extremely dismissive and tells her he has to get back to work because this is his busy hour. And I'm like, look, Rich, stop lying. You don't want to talk about the kids because had she not mentioned that, you would have had that blueprint sprawled out on that table for another hour talking about it. So that was a little crazy, but at the same time, Sabrina, you already know this man doesn't want kids. I said this last week, the week before. The two of you both should have stood on business, stood your ground, and called it off the first time y'all talked about it when you sat at the table drinking your smoothies. Girl, it's just not going to work out. The mention of kids sends Rich running like a roach when the lights come on at night. You are starting to be triggered by women walking around holding their babies, and I don't know what you're going to do when Karen actually has her child. It's only going to intensify the things that you want out of life. Now, I know you said in episode 1 that you was addicted to this chocolate man, and girl, I can understand why. I can see it. But you're going to have to let him go, Sabrina. I don't think you are strong enough to have friends with benefits. I don't think you can continue to hunch him and still be friends and try to date other people. I don't know. I think y'all are too far gone for that. So you're going to have to go cold turkey for right now and just hit him with that Erica Badu. So we go over there to the salon and we see Mama Lisa going in to see Karen. And apparently Karen asked for some money, so she's there to give her this check. So Mama Lisa was saying, like, what are you going to do going forward? Like, what happens if the shop doesn't pick up? Karen says if it does not pick up, she'll just figure it out. So Mama Lisa told her if she would just be straight with Zach and give him the proof he needs, then she would not have to come to her for money. So I'm not sure how many times Karen has actually gone to Mama Lisa for money, but the way she talking like she getting sick and tired of loaning out money to Karen. So Karen says she's sick and tired of being accused of everything, and it's to the point where she doesn't even want Zach in her child's life. So Mama Lisa had to tell her, look, I know you still love Zach, but don't cut your nose to spite your face. Take the DNA test. So Karen said she'll think about it, and she thanks her mom again. So Mama Lisa, she leaves, and then in walks Trey with a bunch of packages yet again. So he sees Karen go sit on the couch with her and brings up Zach and that whole situation, and basically told Karen if he was in that same situation, he would act the same way that Zach did. So he tells her that her shop was the last stop before his lunch, and he wanted to know would she like to go to lunch with him, and she thought about it and said she hadn't eaten yet and decided to go ahead and go with him. So we go over to Gary's office and we see Penelope come in with some lunch for him, but when she realizes that he's not there, she takes the opportunity to go search through his drawer yet again. So I'm a little confused when it comes to the Penelope Gary scenes because it's like each week Penelope finds out something crazy about Gary that would make you leave his behind alone, but she doesn't leave him. And then the next episode, she finds out something else, and it was like last week never even happened. It's like brand new. So we don't see her confronting him about anything. She just plays it cool. So I hope that we're going to find out that Penelope is just with him to gather all this information, and it's all going to make sense at the end, because right now it's not making sense. So she goes in the same exact drawer this week and sees a picture of Andy that was not there before, and then a warrant with Gary's name on it. And she says, Gary, what did you do now? Once you found a passport, it shouldn't even really be a question of whether he did anything, because we already know Gary is off the chain. Gary and Hudson walk through the door, so she slams the drawer shut. And of course, Gary got his mean mug face on, and he's like, what are you doing? So she plays it off and tells him that she came there to surprise him with some lunch. So he gives her the side eye, and he looks at Hudson and tells him to give them a minute. So Gary gives her this look that was cold as ice, and if looks could kill, Penelope would already be gone. He asks her, what were you doing in my drawer? And she lies and says that she was looking for some silverware to eat the food. And then she started asking him questions like, where you been? And he's like, why are you so interested in my business? So, of course, she sees that he's upset because, baby, when I tell you Gary did not crack not one smile, still giving her this evil eye. So she knew that that was her cue to get up out of there because she was like, I'm not, babe. I was just trying to feed my man. So he tells her that he's not ready to eat, that he'll eat later on. And she's trying to butter him up and hug up on him and kiss him and says, well, I'll get up out of your hair, but will I see you later? And he just shakes his head yes, but he does give her a little peck of a kiss. And she hurries her behind up out of there quick and in a hurry because she already knows this man is going to snap at any given moment. And when she leaves, he stands up there looking crazy as if he knows that she was up to something. So Gary calls Hudson back into the office and he comes in there asking him, was he good? And does he need something to take the edge off? And Gary says, no, he's all right, but he may need some of that later on. So Gary says that the guy better come through with this story to leak about Jordan because the girl has already been paid and he needs it to work. And Hudson asks him, are you sure you want to do this? So Gary gives him this evil eye like, don't be asking me no damn questions, just get the ish done. And then with pure disgust, he tells Hudson, and by the way, throw this ish out. Talking about the food that Penelope brought him to eat. He could at least ask Hudson, did he want it? I mean, really, Gary? So after Hudson leaves, you see Gary looking at this paperwork that's probably related to the story that he wants to break out on Jordan. And it looks like it's a picture of a little kid with blonde hair and some type of certificate. I don't know if it's a birth certificate. I don't know what it was. But at any rate, hopefully we get to find out exactly what it is Gary is looking at and what this story is about soon. So we go over there to the airport where Danni is sitting in Tony's office on the phone with Sabrina talking about what happened in the therapy session, telling her about Rusty and how she had blocked all of that out of her mind. And Sabrina was like, well, I was wondering why you had never talked about it. So then Tony walks in the office and she basically kind of hangs up on Sabrina. So when Tony comes in, he asks her about the session and she's kind of like, oh, it was just okay. And he was like, well, just okay, you know, trying to get it out of her and talk. Mind you, she was just talking to Sabrina about it, but then she clams up when Tony's asking her questions. So he's asking her, does she want to go get something to eat? She brushes him off and says she has a large flight she has to go get back to. He wants to know, can I see you later on tonight? She's unsure. She's like, maybe, I don't know. And she kind of runs out and left Tony standing there like, well, damn, what just happened? So later on in the episode, we see Danni went back to Tony's office to explain to him why she may have been acting so weird earlier. So she told him about the therapy session and how things came up and how it made her feel that she had blocked out before. And he said he understood and asked her, did she want to talk about it? And she was like, not right now. So he told her, when you're ready, I'm here to listen. So Tony asked her again about grabbing dinner or coming over to the house. And she kind of wanted to be alone and deal with the stuff that came up in therapy. So he lets her know that he's proud of her for taking that big step and that he knows firsthand that therapy is not easy. But he asked her, just don't shut him out. He just wants to help her get through whatever it is she's facing and be a shoulder to lean on. So she did remember that Creature told her that she uses shutting people out as a defense mechanism, and she's going to try not to do that. So he tells her that he's going to be there for her and that he is not going to allow her to shut him out. So she's like, okay. So she gets up to leave to go home, and she gets to the door and she turns around and tells him, you can go ahead and come over. And he had the biggest smile on his face like that just made his night. And he was like, I'll be over in half an hour. Now, Tony, I appreciate all the support that you're giving Danni for this therapy thing and being there for her. But I still got my good eye on you about these kids next week. I just can't give you the green light just yet, sir. So we go over there to the law firm where we see Fatima and Andy talking. And basically, Fatima was trying to put a bug in Andy's ear, letting her know that Jordan's opponent, Craig Bassett, had this scandal going on where he was sleeping with the secretary, and it started when she was an intern at 16 years old, and they've been sleeping together for years. So she's telling her she hopes that Jordan is clean because once they start digging up dirt on one candidate, they're going to dig up dirt on all of them. So after Hayden eavesdropped on their conversation a little bit, he decides to rattle their cage and tell them to have a nice day. So Hayden, he couldn't wait to go call Gary to tell him what he heard Fatima and Andy talking about. But Gary, he really didn't want to be bothered with Hayden. He was like, oh, so now you want to talk. And Hayden was like, well, you know, I was just scared of all that FBI stuff. So Hayden, he's trying to pry information out of Gary, asking him, is he going to make up a story on Jordan? And Gary's not giving up any information. He says, I got it handled. I got it under control. And Hayden asked him, like, are you sure you want to do this? You don't want this Andy situation to get out of control. So Gary was like, whatever, he didn't want to hear it, so he told him he had to go, and he hung up on him. And when he hung up, he picked up the bag of drugs that he got from Hudson. So we go over there to the bank where pestering Paige is over there once again bothering Sabrina. So she tells Sabrina that one of the accounts that she handles, the customer called and had questions about his account. So she proceeded to take it upon herself to look at the account, read it all the way wrong, and give the customer wrong information. So Sabrina had to ask her, why were you even in my accounts to begin with? And then showed her how she read it wrong. So then pestering Paige decided that she was going to apologize. And I'm like, Sabrina, girl, you are super nice and patient. I commend you for that. But this girl is not going to be satisfied until she gets what it is she's looking for. So then Maurice calls her and she tells Maurice what happened. And Maurice told her that Paige trying to set her up and keep her good eye on her. So the two of them say they have some news for each other. So they plan on hooking up because Sabrina's birthday is coming up, but she'll meet with him after she sees the girls. So he told Sabrina, go ahead and get that pinky in the brain bee Paige up out of there so she can hire him back. So we go over there to Zach and Fatima's, and he is going over paperwork for the hearing for Michael and wanted to make sure everything was right. And says that he's missed a lot of time with Michael and how he wants both of his kids in his life. And Fatima threw a little monkey wrench in there and was like, well, we don't know if the other one is yours just yet, and he didn't really want to hear that, and asked her, did she really have to pick that moment to bring that up? And I'm like, well, it's kind of the same thing as you going to Karen's shop in the middle of her grand opening to ask her what you did. So we see Andy and Jordan on their little dinner date, and he's nibbling all over her knuckles like a rat does cheese, and I'm like, he is so sickening with this PDA. So Andy brings up the whole Craig Bassett situation, and he says that he was shocked to hear about it, and assures her that not all politicians are liars, that he is not perfect and he hasn't done anything as heinous and that he would be ashamed of. So they toast to him becoming one step closer to being city councilman, being that Craig Bassett is out of the race. So she says no scandals, and he agrees no scandals. So as the two of them are leaving the restaurant, they're having a nice time. They're laughing, hugging, playing, kissing, just enjoying each other. And we see Gary's crazy behind sitting in his car, lurking and looking, taking it all in and becoming more and more enraged the more he sees that Andy is actually happy. So this leads him to take a hit of his booger sugar and pick up the piece that he had in the console of the car. As they're getting in the car laughing and whatever, they pull off and he acts like he's getting ready to shoot at the car, but he doesn't. And that's where the episode ends. Ooh, child, we are totally witnessing Gary's character spiral out of control. How do you all think this will end for Gary? We know he's trash, but how do you think this will end? Will he go to jail or will he be unalive? This episode was written by April A.P. Powell. Drop down in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts were. And as always, you guys, I appreciate all the support. Thank you for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.